Pyramids of the Moon by Neil A. Hogan.
"We're here,"
said Kreia, bringing the moon buggy to a stop just below the crater rim. Michelle strained to see through her helmet, but the glare of the sun was beginning to make it difficult. She adjusted her visor's filter and could finally see the destination. Just beyond the rim, she could make out their tips as they began to glow with the first light. 3 pyramids, arranged in the same position as those in Giza, Egypt, but on the far side of the moon. They got out of the moon buggy and walked carefully to the edge, having trouble balancing in the light lunar gravity.
"We can't take the buggy down. We need to bounce this bit,"
said Kreia. He pointed at a section of the crater wall that was less of an incline and featured hundreds of footprints, the evidence of other expeditions years ago, unchanged in the windless environment. They bounded down to the crater floor and headed towards the first pyramid as the light began to expand across their surfaces.
"I don't really know why you're here,"
Kreia then said, his words crackling through the radio, a slight suspicion in his voice. Michelle was silent for a moment. It was happening now, after everything she'd gone through to get here?
You read my application.
"The pyramids have been quantum scanned, and you have access to the latest holographic modeling. You could find a way to operate the block from your holocomputers. There's nothing else to find, nothing else you can do here."
Michelle was about to shake her head when she realized Kreia wouldn't see.
It's not like that. There is plenty we don't yet know.
She fingered her rock dissolving tool on her hip. The blaster was fully charged. She hoped she wouldn't need to use it yet.
"Look, I'm just a bit confused why your application was approved. We get requests like yours all the time."
I guess they knew it was important.
Michelle didn't want to get into a conversation about this at this late stage. She just wanted to get inside, do what she had to do, and get out.
Look, quantum modeling suggested the perturbations of Jupiter, Venus, and Earth's other tiny moons still doesn't fully explain the moon's tidally locked, elongated orbit. What if something happens? What if we do something that might disrupt that orbit? It could cause an ocean realignment.
"It's been there for billions of years. Your research expedition cost well over $1 billion. Don't you think that money might have been better spent on something more important like, well, combating the Destroy All Humans animal activist terrorist organization?"
Michelle bit her lip. She'd been very careful. She'd even had extra markers put in her DNA. There was no way they could trace even so much as a cell back. There was no way he could know. Her heartbeats were starting to increase, so she calmed herself and pulled her heart rate down again, changing any anxiety in her voice to one of annoyance.
Look, I don't know what's got into you, but I'm investigating something new. Something that copying on a quantum level won't ever show up. I can pick up on consciousnesses. Models suggest the block might be, but we can't reproduce it in our systems. If that block is sentient, I'll know about it. Let's speed this up and get it over with. It'll only take me a few minutes to know, and perhaps we might even be able to communicate with it.
Michelle heard Kreia sigh, then he was silent. The conversation had ended. She moved her hand away from her tool and continued after him. They reached the base of the first pyramid quickly. Found in 2047, the moon pyramids were initially hushed up until it was found that they were almost completely empty. Then the details were released as something humans built during their previous rise to an advanced civilization. Evidence of sonic lifting devices, massive mechanical cutting stones, inventions that use the electromagnetic energy of Earth, and other things that suggested that the human race had reached this stage before, were displayed in hieroglyphs on the walls. Initially it had surprised many, but they quickly got over it. Once it was accepted that the current expansion of the human race was actually the 5th time humanity had done it, archaeology became fashionable as everyone wanted a piece of the rediscovery action. Since then, pyramids had been found on a number of planets and moons throughout the solar system, and the missing pieces to history before 14,000 years ago fell into place.
"You're worried about the Atlantis myth?"
Kreia asked then, startling Michelle out of her reverie.
There's a chance the moon's orbit had something to do with that.
She looked up at the sheer walls. The pyramid stretched up as far as her limited helmet vision would allow, at least 140 meters. He pointed towards an opening about halfway up the side. She knew there was only one way up.
Thrusters, right?
"Yes."
They stood several meters apart for safety, then activated their electromagnetic thrusters, rising up the side of the pyramid, yellow and grey stones passing them quickly.
"The only thing you need to worry about is breaking a bone,"
Kreia said as they approached the doorway.
"Your suit can withstand most physical impacts, so don't worry about the suit if you hit the pyramid. Worry more about breaking anything inside."
Within moments they had landed on a wide balcony that stretched across the pyramid at the door level. The material seemed different to the rest of the pyramid.
This we built a few years ago.
He indicated the platform.
It's a bit safer than trying to thrust to a tiny doorway.
Michelle had to agree. She might have had to hit her thigh thrusters a few more times to be able to make it there accurately. Kriya pointed at the doorway.
After you.
Michelle knew the way from her studies and bounced slightly on the dusty floor, her suit reflecting the LED lighting that had been strung along the walls. The corridor curved upwards and turned left, ending at the entrance to a chamber. Michelle and Kriya slowly made their way towards it, the low gravity hampering their efforts to get there quickly in the enclosed corridor. A bright glow began to spread throughout the chamber as the sunlight filtered through shafts that had since been covered over by glass. In the center of the chamber sat her prize, the beautifully etched crystalline rectangular prism. The crystal shone brightly, scattering rainbows throughout the room. As the light got stronger, the block began to glow from within, reflecting it in myriad rainbows around the room.
Even though there are terabytes of information stored in every atom of it, it's completely dormant. We can't analyze it, study it, or even move it. It's too costly to keep this under armed guard or have round-the-clock scientists investigate it, and no one can do anything with it even if they brought an armada, so now it is simply a museum piece.
He pointed at cameras that had been installed.
State-of-the-art security. We're under surveillance across the world.
I believe we can access the information by accessing the consciousness.
It's a device. How can it be conscious? Even an AI isn't really conscious. They just have learning subroutines that make it look like they are.
Everything is conscious.
Said Michelle.
Even the moon. Just a different level of consciousness.
Kriya was silent again. A typical scientist. If there's no proof, it doesn't exist. She bet he didn't even believe love exists because it can't be proved scientifically. She went over to the block and placed her gloved hands on its surface. There was something there. She could feel it.
What do you think this is for?
She asked. She'd read all the theories, but Kriya lived on the moon and had regular access to the site. Perhaps there was something he knew.
I have a few theories. One, it's recorded our entire history, and it is just here for us to find. The Atlanteans knew that destruction was coming and wanted to leave their technology somewhere safe. We can't read it yet, so we don't know what information is in it. When we advance further, it might become easy. Two, it's a security device, and it shoots a plasma beam from the pyramid to destroy any incoming asteroids to protect the Earth. The pyramid is still in good condition, but around it are the remains of countless rocks with burn marks. So, maybe that one is the most likely. Three, it's a communications device, and the Atlanteans didn't really die, they just left. If we can get it working, we can talk with them.
Kriya put his gloved hand on the device.
You really think it might be conscious, an AI, or even alive?
Michelle looked closely at the device. The best scientists couldn't crack it because they had nothing to go on. It just sat there. A rectangular crystal block completely made up of atomic circuits. No power or signal passing through it. It just generated a very tiny electromagnetic field. But she knew scientists would spend years on spectrum analysis and computer modeling before doing anything to the real thing. They wouldn't set off a catalyst to test it yet, but she had figured it out. The moon's orbit was elongated and occasionally sporadic. Depending on the position of the planets, the sun, the position of the moon around Earth, the distance between the Earth and the moon could change by as much as 50,000 kilometers between apogee and perigee. The main question was, why? Were Jupiter and Venus really influencing the moon that much? What about when they were on the other side of the sun? She was sure it was the block. This was holding the moon in place. This was the device that gave the moon its unique orbit. It was subtly influencing the electromagnetic fields of the sun from here, repositioning the moon in very tiny increments over thousands of years. It didn't take much to do that in space. But for something to be able to recalibrate and predict and adjust, it needed to be aware. And it was time to make it more aware. With that, she pulled her blaster and pointed it at the block.
Wait,
Yelled Kriya.
what are you doing?
The moon is currently at its perigee. The closest it will be to Earth for a while. It's why I was able to get posted here so quickly. Cheapest flight time. But there is something that you may not be aware of. Lots of earthquakes are happening on Earth now. Not only because the moon is closest, but also because many of the planets have lined up, and that tiny pull of gravity is affecting things. It's amazing what gravity can do.
But Are you saying this device helps stabilize the moon, and you're going to shoot it?
Kreia made to move to her, but she swung the blaster on him, and he stopped.
I'm pretty spontaneous.
Michelle shifted the blaster back to the device.
No security systems here? Only cameras?
She waved her blaster at one of them.
If nothing else, this will get you properly investigating these things, rather than spending a lifetime looking at pictures. The slow rate of science bores me. Let's do something exciting for a change.
And with that, she moved her blaster back to the crystal block and fired. For a moment, nothing happened. And then the energy charge began to flicker amongst the atomic circuits, disrupting bonds, dissolving connections, causing a feedback glow that began to spread outward from the device. The light reflected and refracted against itself, glowing brighter as it drew energy from the block. A strange, rumbling vibration spread through the pyramid, and both Kreia and Michelle stumbled.
You stupid girl!
Yelled Kreia.
This is why we investigate for years. If you've just disrupted its orbit, anything can happen. The moon could crash into the Earth. Well, guess what, idiot? Your precious animals are going to die, too.
Kreia bounded to the exit and headed down the corridor, while Michelle continued to watch the glowing crystal. So, he did know that she was part of the group, but she only wanted to test the block to see if it responded. Something this advanced surely couldn't be affected by a simple rock-blasting tool. She put her blaster back into its magnetic holder and carefully moved closer to the brightening block. She reached out a hand. The glow seemed to intensify, and then the room changed. No longer a rectangular chamber with colorful writing on the walls, the room was now cold steel as far as the eye could see, lit by glowing orbs. A tall being stood in front of her. It was humanoid, but its features were plain, and its hands were webbed.
"Hello,"
it said, in English. Michelle's mouth opened in surprise, then closed again. She realized that she wasn't wearing her suit. Was it a hologram or a hallucination? Telepathy?
"Your consciousness has merged with the awareness in this device. This is a security program. When the awareness is attacked, this program activates to contact the nearest sentient being for assistance. That is you."
Well, I don't think I can help you.
Scanning your recent memories. Why did you shoot the unit? Scanning for answer. To test your orbit theory. Scanning for appropriate logical processes that led to this action.
Stop. I have not given you permission to scan my mind.
Agreed.
The AI was silent. Michelle had not been expecting an interrogation.
Accessing current records of planet Atlantis. Parameter analysis. Population level.
The AI looked confused.
Program deviation detected. Breeding program has been activated. Increase in creative energy has inexplicably resulted in restriction of humanoid freedoms. Creative energy has been channeled into sexual energy and breeding. 8 billion humans is beyond projected estimates for this time period. Parameter analysis, population health. Program deviation detected. Flora engineered for optimum health, not being consumed. Breakdown of viral firewall in animals detected. Animal viruses have infected the human experiment. DNA aberrations detected. Humans have ingested bovine milk. Humanoid DNA is now expressing cow DNA codes, reducing neural conductivity, increasing bone density, and enlarging pelvic and mammary structures.
The AI analyzed the image of Michelle in front of it, nodding as though confirming its diagnosis. Michelle knew she was well endowed, with large hips, but she had stopped drinking milk years ago. Perhaps it had been too late. Had she really turned into a cow? She realized the AI had more to say.
Environmental adaptation. Program deviation detected. Particular DNA expressions per landmass group had been chosen to optimize development of that specific human branch, enabling them to be able to live best in their chosen environments.
The AI turned to her with a look of exasperation.
Humans have moved between land masses without changing their DNA to suit the environment. Why has this happened?
Then its eyes seemed to flash with anger, and it explained further.
Program deviated approximately 3,000 orbits previously in an area designated Lydia. Invention of currency. Deviation not accounted for in projections.
Michelle began biting her lip as she realized where this was heading. If they had been an experiment, they'd failed. What was the AI going to do?
Development of currency was not part of the original protocols due to its propensity to create too great a difference in abundance. Humanity had been restricted to trading in skills, creations, and crops in their appropriate land masses based on their particular DNA expressions. Each category would rise to the level of Homo galacticas in their own way, in their own time, and forge peaceful alliances between land masses. This result is now impossible. Project is not salvageable.
The AI looked at Michelle distastefully, like she was a failed experiment. What was it going to do?
Project failure confirmed.
It stated ominously.
Activating overdue reset.
What? Wait,
Michelle said.
I don't want a reset.
We are overseeing the project and you are just one unit. However, I will allow your feedback. What is your suggestion?
I originally came here to confirm my theory that your system was controlling the moon's orbit, and to disrupt this in some minor way, with the expected result that it would cause the governments of the world to work together to stabilize the moon. This small act will get people thinking about each other, the environment, the animals, and the stars. It's all connected.
Projections indicate this is an unlikely result.
Michelle paused, her mind racing. She didn't want the planet restarted. What could she do? Her long-term goal was simply to get humans to stop eating animals, but she knew she had to get a mindset change first, some way in which humanity would suddenly start caring about the world around them. But if she only had one choice, she should go straight to the end goal. DNA?
Can you create a virus that will make all humans suddenly allergic to eating cows? That way they would still be alive, but it would also be like a reset. It would be a start, and it would change everything. Everyone would start considering what they eat and how it affects them. It would have a snowball effect, causing everyone to rethink everything.
The humanoid flickered for a moment. Perhaps it was accessing records.
The virus lives in an insect you call a tick. Your beef industry has all but eradicated this virus from existence. According to updated records, none of your Save the Animals organizations have tried to use it to make people more sensitive to eating cattle, as the risk of death is too high.
Michelle opened her mouth, then closed it again. There must be another solution. But the AI had more to say.
The virus causes a reaction to a mammalian carbohydrate. It doesn't respond in the same way to chicken or fish. Multiple viruses would need to be created targeting particular carbohydrates in individual species of animals to prevent all humans from eating them. It is not a solution. Additional information. Animals have agreed, on a higher consciousness level, to help humans spread out into the galaxy through any means necessary.
The animals want us to eat them?
They're not like you. They're not individual consciousnesses. Their bodies are more connected to the spirit realms, and they think together. Flocks of birds and sheep, packs of wolves, herds of wildebeest, armies of ants. They move synchronistically because they're all the same consciousness, looking at the world through different points of view. How have you forgotten this?
But I don't want people eating animals.
The AI paused, looked Michelle in the eye in a way that suggested compassion. Was he about to change his mind? Or tell her something she didn't want to hear?
Michelle Shaw. Humanity has been genetically engineered to require creatine and carnosine, amongst other mammalian nutrients. These are only available in animals. Your entire plan is flawed and will not result in the continued evolution of the human brain and eventual expansion of humanity across the galaxy within 1,000 years. Reset activated.
She had lost. In mere moments, she destroyed everything. The shock was like a punch to her stomach. Feeling lightheaded, she crumpled to the floor. All the animals would die. All the humans would die. This hadn't been her plan at all. She didn't want the human race reset. She didn't want all the animals dead. She at least wanted to go home. What had she done? She felt a rumble in the floor coming from outside the simulation. Had the moon moved? The humanoid cocked its head as though listening.
My systems indicate a self-sustaining environment not far from here. 37 humans with quite a genetic diversity. You can start again.
But most of them are men.
Then I hope you like babies.
With that, the humanoid smiled a chilling smile, the holoroom disappeared, and Michelle was once again inside her suit, standing up with her hands still on the block, and a murderous-looking Kreia staring at her.
I should kill you now,
He said. Had he heard?
Why?
Come outside.
She followed him carefully out of the room, and they stood on the ledge on the edge of the pyramid. The earth was in the sky.
Wait, what?
She said, surprised.
We're on the far side of the moon. We should never be able to see the Earth. Your shot has sent the moon spinning out of orbit, but it's worse than that.
He sent her close satellite imagery to her heads-up display. With the moon's orbit disrupted, the normal ovoid shape of the Earth had changed as well. Hundreds of meters of water that were normally pulled out at the equator had flattened and spread back, pouring across the nearby landmasses and flooding them. As the moon kept moving diagonally across the Earth, its gravity continued to pull water across the continents, sinking cities. The AI had simply changed the moon's orbit slightly, and the human race had been wiped out. It was the flooding of Atlantis all over again. She could see that Kreia was crying in his suit, shaking.
They're dead,
He said.
My family, my friends, my life. They're gone, and I can never go back.
He raised his tool and pointed it at her.
I wouldn't do that if I were you.
She said calmly. If anything, she didn't want her death on his conscience.
Give me one good reason.
His hand was wavering.
Not if you want the human race to survive as a species. There aren't that many women on this moon.
Do you really think people will want you as the mother of their children?
What other choice do you have? I don't want to have kids any more than you want to have me have them. I think endless babies is going to be my punishment. If you want me to be punished for my actions, think of the pain I'll be in every time I go through childbirth.
Kreia continued to point the tool at her, but this time he waved it towards the edge of the ledge.
Jump, we're taking the buggy back to the base, and then we'll decide what to do with you. If there are survivors on Earth, they can restart the race. At this stage, with nowhere to land, we can't get a rocket back to Earth, so rebuilding the human race from here is unlikely anyway.
Michelle shrugged and looked up at the now brown ball of Earth moving across the sky. It would take a while for the tidal waves, earthquakes, typhoons, and hurricanes to settle, and then they would find if there were any survivors. She'd been instrumental in killing 8 billion people. There was now no legal system to try her, and even if there wasn't a punishment great enough to make up for it. But being told to recreate the population would be close. With the right treatment, she could be having babies every 9 months until she was 70, unless she died in childbirth first. As this thought permeated, she realized she didn't really have a choice in the matter. It wouldn't just be the babies. It would be the constant accusation from all survivors. And the fact that her actions had killed trillions of her beloved animals meant life was no longer worth living. She prided herself in her spontaneity. The idea of just having babies was the most boring-sounding existence she could ever think of. She would never have any peace, any life, any fun. She realized then that it just wasn't worth it. She was sure the human race would survive without her. After all, it had happened 5 times before. Kreia had forgotten to take her own rock blaster from her, and Michelle quickly pulled it off her magnetic holder, turned it on herself, and fired.